Hey, it's Rob Ryder, and it's Sunday, February 6, 2022. And today, warrior saints and chaplains are Christian nation peacemakers, and the battle against professionals doing the work of the devil. And I'm sorry to say that is how the United States is being run. Right? Where people that have to have license, professionals, are omitting facts or putting errors in records, which is bad faith, right? So they're doing acts of bad faith and they get away with it. Well, that's just the work of the devil. And there has to be a way to combat it, but the way is perhaps spiritual instead of purely civil. And as it turns out, chaplains have jurisdiction. It's called spiritual jurisdiction. And I'll show you that in a minute, right? So there's many people that are chaplains, and as a chaplain, they're actually part of the organization that made them a chaplain. So, like the chaplain of the House of Representatives is an officer of the House of Representatives. Same with the chaplain of the Senate. Chaplains, that are in the military are officers of the military. Goes on and on and on. And so chaplains who have a gold fringed flag are chaplains of the Gold Fringed Flag jurisdiction. They're officers of that jurisdiction. And if you think about that for a minute, start looking at all the places you see gold fringed flags, it's like, oh, okay, then they have something to do with all those different jurisdictions. The gold fringed flag is a symbol of a jurisdiction. It's the United States wartime government. It's basically been in place since the Civil War. Lincoln declared martial law. It's never been rescinded. You can read the Lieber Code. All these things are true. It's just that it's dormant. It's not being used, right? Because we're not going to our doorway into that jurisdiction, which is the chaplain. Right? This is part of my theory, so that's why we're here. Because, if you go read Webster's dictionary, it will tell you under the definition of race, it'll say thus, all mankind are the race of Adam. So there is no white race, there's no red race, there's no black race, right? That may be a color, but it's not a race, right? And if you allow yourself to be defined by that race, well, that means you're not man, because all of mankind are called the race of Adam. And if you're going to do that, you're making yourself the perfect victim for a spiritual court that's run under Talmudic law, that believes that they have the jurisdiction to enforce the Noahide laws. All right, we're going to talk about that in just a minute. So, I'm Staff Sergeant Robert Allen Wertlewski, U.S. Army veteran, also known as Rob Ryder, and my phone number is 616-712-6179. Email address courtofrecord@aol.com. And the reason I'm saying all this to start with is I'm basically going to direct what I do now towards this gentleman here, which is Chris Salome, who's the pastor of St. George Antiochian Orthodox Church in Phoenix, Arizona. All right, he's a founder of the Way of the Saint, which is a movement dedicated to teaching the crucifixion of life, i.e., sacrifice yourself for the sake of others. Well, I'm all for that, Chris. I do it every day, right? So I'm already a doer. I am a warrior saint. What I don't have is my chaplain to take my frickin' sworn statement and put it into the Gold Fringed Flag jurisdiction. I think that you have that. Now, I can't see from the pictures of your church, right, that you have a Gold Fringed Flag, but let's use a different example. I can certainly see in this church there's a Gold Fringed Flag, and there's a Vatican flag. Hey, this must be a Roman Catholic church. Well, by gosh, there's somebody playing the Pope, a bunch of red beanies, thinking they're cardinals. They're all looking at these nuns up here in front of the altar, right? And there's that Gold Fringed Flag again. And this is just wonderful. This lady here, this is actually Whoopi Goldberg. Right? Because this is out of the movie Sister Act. And, she's just got herself in trouble because she said that the Holocaust had nothing to do with race. Right? That it was white on white. But, and she got chastised for that. But it wasn't about race. Because we're all the race of Adam. And if you're not the race of Adam, then you must be the race of Cain. right? Which there are people that believe that's what, there's two races, right? You got the race of Adam, the children of God, and you got the race of Cain, or the Canaanites, right? The children of the devil. And that's really what we're dealing with here on the United States. So she brought up the fact that it wasn't a race thing, and she got shot down by the false Jews and everybody else who said that it is. And well, they need to, go read the dictionary, find out what the definition of race is, and try it again. But just in case you doubted it, yeah, that's a gold fringed flag. In a Catholic church. Now, why would that be, right? There's a reason for these things. I mean, that's just not a decoration, right? And they didn't put that in there just because of this video or this movie. I mean, what they did, I'm sure that because it had to be blessed off by the Vatican for them to do this, that everything had to be exactly perfect, right? Or they wouldn't allow this scene to be used in this video. So, now how did the Catholics get a freaking gold fringed flag in their church? And it isn't just the Catholics. I believe all mainline Protestant churches have the same thing, right? That's the sign of a jurisdiction. I'm going to show you where that is signifying that this church is also a military chapel with a chaplain, right? And chaplains, because they're a chaplain, are a member of the organization. It's not the church now, it's the organization. It's the organization under the gold fringed flag. And that because the church has that jurisdiction, I could go to that pastor and say, I need you to be my witness on my sworn statement into the gold fringed flag jurisdiction about something that's happening to me by a professional who's, doing something outside of what their license says they can do. Be a wonderful day. All right, hang on a minute, please. Just a second. All right, and so Chris, you don't know who I am. All right, I've never talked to you before, but if you go on YouTube, on Rob Ryder, ROBBBRYDER, right, this is who I am. I have almost 35,000 subscribers. I do videos on all sorts of subjects having to do with things that are wrong in the United States, and I can prove them by what they have written. This isn't difficult to do. The difficulty is finding somebody who can do something with it, right? So I have the knowledge, but I have no power. That really is what this comes down to. And I believe that the chaplains have it, right? But, now where I found you is from Gab. I went to Gab, and I said, well, I'm going to open up a second channel, right? So I went to Gab, which my channel on Gab is Rob Ryder with two B's, ROBBRYDER, right? And I found your site there, and I'm going to do this video. I'm going to put a link in one of your videos. Hopefully you're going to watch it, and we can talk, and we can find out if you agree or how I can make you agree, and you and all the other men of the collar agree that they have this frickin' power because of the gold fringed flag that's in the church. Right? So I have to believe the Orthodox Church has a gold fringed flag because the Orthodox Church has chaplains in the military. So let's just look at that real quick, right? What do we have in the military? We have an Armed Forces Chaplains Board, right? Which has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That'd be 6 generals sitting on a chaplains board, right? So, hey, look what they're standing in front of. Well, that would be a gold fringed flag, right? So your gold fringed flag in your church is tied to that gold fringed flag standing behind those people. You're in the same jurisdiction. If I want to have access to that jurisdiction, I have to go through my clerk, my doorway, my entry into the jurisdiction, and they gave it to chaplains. And every pastor of a church is a chaplain. You got a gold fringed flag, you're the pastor. Guess what? Your other job is a chaplain. It just comes with the territory. And there's a website online. It's called New Advent, and it has the Catholic dictionary, right? So in there, if you go under chaplain, you'll find they talk about these court chaplains and the history of chaplains and everything you could ever want to know about chaplains, right? Just get started here. But it says, thence there was but a step to endowing them with spiritual jurisdiction for the benefit of those living in the palaces. Okay, well, now we're not living in palaces, we're living in parishes. But it's the same freaking thought. It's like, you're there for the benefit, the spiritual jurisdiction, things to be done under good faith instead of bad faith, have to have the touch of spiritual jurisdiction added to them. You got to put the spirit in it, right? You prove to the world that I'm a Christian because you signed my papers, or at least to the fact that what the other person is doing is act of bad faith. I wouldn't even need to be a Christian. What this is really about is that what's happening to me is being done by an act of bad faith, and I need to bring that to you and have you contact somebody, and, well, the problem will go away. That's how it should work with a chaplain. If we can just expand on what the definition of a chaplain is, and what they've done and where they came from, and, but it was a military man. First chaplain was a military man who saw a beggar in a town. He cut off half of his cloak, gave it to the beggar, and the beggar ended up being Jesus Christ. And the man was instantly converted. St. Martin of Tours, that's who I'm talking about, this individual right here, right? And, he left the military and started preaching the gospel the rest of his life. Amen to that. So, let me show you just a few more things. I mean, this is really just an introduction video. I couldn't even begin to tell you the things that I could tell you, Chris, but I'm going to tell you a few things. So hang on. So in this video on YouTube, if you go there, because, you have a comment section, and maybe you have a comment section also in Gab. I really haven't looked at that closely yet. I'm going to put this link of these recent videos I have done and the different topics that they belong to, such as the IRS, right? That technically, Chris, nobody should be paying taxes because a W-2 and a 1099 is not, NOT, not an income tax form. It's a Class 5 gift and estate. And I have a court case going on now with the ladies. Well, it's actually her court case. I never have a court case because I'm not an attorney, right? Now, I may be opening a court case here shortly. But in the meantime, I mean, people have trouble, so they want to try things. So it's like, well, let's do this. And so we've opened a couple court cases, one in the tax court and one in the district court for different reasons, and trying different things to find out if we get a judge to agree with us. Or like a foreclosure, anybody who believes that they're in a foreclosure. Actually, anybody who believes that you have a mortgage, you need to understand you never signed a contract with the bank. Right? If you don't have a contract with the bank's signature on it, then there was never a loan made. It's really that simple. This is basic freaking contracting. Both parties must sign. There's not a signature of the bank on a document that has your signature on it, then there's not a contract. And they could not have made you a loan, right? So the whole thing is made up on smoke and mirrors from the beginning. Church and state, birth certificates, elections, military and oaths. Nobody's taking the proper oath to office. The only people in the United States taking the proper oath to office is the military. Right? Senators don't, Congress, all the congressmen don't, governors don't, judges don't. Your township supervisor doesn't take the proper oath of office. Nobody is taking the proper oath of office according to the Constitution and the laws of the United States, which is all I'm interested in because, that's the nation I'm part of. Actually, the United States is a union. I'm part of that union. Property taxes, if you were to look at the name and property description on your deed and compare it to the name and the property description on your property taxes, you would very easily see, well, they're not using the same name for the taxpayer compared to the grantee, and they're not using the same legal description. Well, then which one do you own, right? Do you own the one that has being paid the taxes, or do you own the one that's you thought you bought when you bought your property? How can somebody tax you on something you don't claim to own? And yet it happens every day. And real estate transactions. Every real estate transaction requires a buyer's broker because only brokers can transfer titles to property, right? The actual title. But that isn't what they're doing. They don't transfer the title to the property, and so you're not really the owner of your property. It doesn't have your name on it. Right? It was the negligence of the buyer's broker that caused this error or omission to be put into a record that you believe is a record that shows that you own the property, but by the record as it's written, it shows that you don't own the property. And in common law, the common law only cares about, well, what does the record say? And the record doesn't have your name on it, so you don't own it. So you can't go to law for a remedy. You got to go to equity. Or in this case, we need to go to the military jurisdiction, which is all administrative, right? It's not a court of justice. It's not judicial at all. It's administrative, right? And they talk about administrations all the time. So obviously that's what's going on. It's just nobody's, looking at it in that particular light. And, just in case you think I'm joking about this stuff, this is a law of the United States. It's 105 Stat 44, which would be the 105th volume of the Statutes at Large on page 44. And, anything that's a statute at large is supposed to be a law of the United States. So this is a law that says, in a nutshell, that the nation, right, was founded on these particular laws, which are the 7 Noahide laws. And we need to stop and ask ourselves, well, the nation I'm part of is not under the 7 Noahide laws. The nation I'm part of is under the Constitution. And yet here's a law of the United States saying, no, the nation is governed by the 7 Noahide laws. Well, who the hell put that in there? Who claims to have jurisdiction over the 7 Noahide laws right now? Well, we all know who it is. It's the false Jews. They claim to have jurisdiction, and they claim to be able to judge everybody by the Noahide laws. Well, that's not good for a Christian, because the first law is, violate, if you're a blasphemer, it's death by decapitation. So while they can't quite get that done yet, we've all been charged as blasphemers because we believe that Jesus is the Son of God, and they don't. So I want nothing to do with them fucktards and their 7 Noahide laws. It's not part of my tradition. But they believe it is. They got a rabbi in here and all sorts. This is just nasty as can be, right? So, but this is what we're dealing with, right? So these people are in charge, and they're the ones that are putting all these errors and omissions. The people that agree with this statement are the ones putting the errors and omissions in records. And whether they call themselves a Jew or a Christian or whatever, it doesn't really matter. Right? They're not following the Constitution. They're following the 7 Noahide laws. So that's what we're up against. Right? This is the law of the professional. Okay. So what can we do about it? Well, I'm saying, Chris, if you were to look around your church, you got a Gold Fringed Flag somewhere, and there's a regulation. I don't know why this is on. Just a second. Army Regulation 840-10, flags, guide iron streamers, and so forth and so on, which you can find online. Just Google Army Regulation 840-10. And, they'll tell you all sorts of things that you didn't know about the flag. I'm not going to try to go through all of them, but just the ones that matter for now, which you'll find in Chapter 2 under 2-3. We need to go down, and eventually you'll find this part where it talks about national flags listed below are for indoor display and for use in ceremonies and parades. For these purposes, the flag of the United States, right, doesn't say United States of America, flag of the United States will be a rayon banner cloth or heavyweight nylon trimmed on 3 sides with gold and yellow fringe, 2 1/2 inches long. Can you go look at yours, Chris, and tell me if that's, what it is? You got 2 1/2 inch long gold fringe on it? Well, then you have a national flag of the United States. All right? This will tell you what sizes they should be, and then it says, well, where it's authorized to be displayed, because it's not a decoration. All right, the flag of the United States in offices, headquarters, organizations, authorized positional colors, battalion size or larger organizations. Basically, things to do with the military. Right? Like military courtrooms. It doesn't say so. So because it says military courtrooms and doesn't say civilian courtrooms, well, then I guess it's not in a civilian courtroom. Yeah, if you go to court and look around, there'll be a flag, Gold Fringed Flag in there. Well, then it's a military courtroom because that's where it can be displayed. It can't be displayed in a civilian courtroom. But they're not telling you this. They're not telling anybody this. It doesn't change the fact that it's there, right? It's a jurisdiction that court can judge in. But to get into that jurisdiction, I have to have a document that has your signature on it, the chaplain's signature, right? As my witness on my affidavit, for lack of a better term. Right? Then it goes on to say, hey, it can be, it can fly in chapels. That's why you have one. You're a chapel. And chapels have chaplains, and chaplains are attached to the secular entity that made them the chaplain. Well, the Gold Fringed Flag made you the chaplain. And this all came about back in 1917-ish, when Congress declared World War I. They actually declared war for World War I. And when they did, President Wilson wrote a letter, or he issued a proclamation. He didn't write a letter, he issued a proclamation, to which the Catholic Church responded with its letter to the president through the archbishops of the Catholic Church. Right? It said, hey, we're behind the United States 100%. What can we do to help? Right? Basically, that's what it was. Our offer to help, our pledge to help the United States. What do you want us to do? Well, what they wanted them to do, it ended up, and not just the Catholics, but also all the Protestant churches, mainline Protestant churches. Anybody's got a Gold Fringed Flag. I'm just going to go there. That's how you got the flag. It's because this happened in 1917. And what they did is, through the War Department, they gave these secular entities that were created by the churches a commission, right? So the Catholics created this thing called the National Catholic War Council. Okay, today it's the USCCB, right? The U.S. Conference of Catholic Bishops, right? That's the grandchild of the National Catholic War Council. So it's still there, it just isn't being used. It's hidden behind some other words, but it started out as the National Catholic War Council. And the National Catholic War Council was given a military commission by the War Department, not by Congress, so Congress can't take it away. It was by the War Department. And as long as that war is still going on, well, they still had that commission, and World War I never ended. There was never a treaty of peace. There was never a special proclamation. Certain things that have to happen according to the Lieber Code, which was issued by President Lincoln in 1863, where it says in Article 2 that, once martial law has been declared, it doesn't end until there's a proclamation by the Commander-in-Chief or a treaty of peace. And they didn't happen. And because of that, there's certain things that happened, and the reason that they did this is they wanted, I'm going to have to go read these pages too. That'd be easier. Hang on a second. So in this handbook, in Chapter 6, again, this is online, easy enough to download. It has governmental and supplemental agencies and war work. This is all about being at war. We are now under the laws of war. We're not under the laws of peace. We're not under the Constitution. We're under the laws of war because Congress declared war, and that war has never been ended. And all the shit that you see going on isn't really the Congress doing it. It's people pretending to be the Congress. All right, we're supposed to be under a military government. And the way that would work is that they would create all these agencies. And as this says, but it's the cooperation of organized bodies in the land which best suited for the work of government has outlined as its support. And what they wanted to happen was to have the churches, right, be organized. And so as an individual, you would go to your parish if you had an issue that needed to be dealt with by another military organization. These entities they set up basically became agents of the wartime government. And the proof of it's the Gold Fringed Flag, and that's why the pastor / chaplain has some jurisdiction in the civil jurisdiction, because we're under a wartime government. We're not under a civilian government. Nancy Pelosi didn't take the proper oath of office. She's not a congressman of the United States. In fact, she doesn't claim to be the United States. She claims to be the United States of America in the democracy. There is no democracy in the Constitution, and the Constitution is for the United States. It's the Constitution of the United States, not the Constitution of the United States of America. So under the Constitution of the United States is where this stuff happens. And so the Protestants created this thing called the General Wartime Commission of the Federal Churches of Christ in America. The Jews had the Jewish Welfare Board, the United States Army and Navy, and the Catholics had the National Catholic War Council. All these asked to cooperate with government agencies on war work. So you're supposed to go to these as your agent to the various agencies of the government. And the way the Catholics had it set up is they had the national board, then they had a level at the diocese, right? So the diocesan bishop was in charge of the diocesan level, and they were actually supposed to keep. In fact, I wrote that down here. Right, this is really important stuff, right? The one main duty of the Diocesan Committee on Historical Records is to complete a census of men who have entered the service. Well, that's never happened. They don't have a list. They don't keep a list anywhere of people that have joined the service. And technically, when you go to register for the selective service, you have joined the service. You just haven't been called up yet, but you're part of the militia. Title 10, United States Code. God, what section is it? I don't want to tell the section to be wrong. It's 243, 242, something like that. But it's about the militia. All able-bodied men 17 to 45 are in the militia. Well, there isn't a record anywhere that at the church that we ever went into the military. So there's all sorts of messed up. I mean, they don't register you right through selective service. I've done videos on that. They give you a 1H rating, which means you can't serve unrestricted duty. And I mean, these are just errors and omissions put in records by professionals, be they esquires, be they bankers, real estate brokers, your CPA doing your taxes, who has you paying taxes for numbers that are on a W-2, which isn't a Class 2 tax form, which is what my last couple of videos have been about. If you're interested, and you haven't seen them, you should really watch those. Actually, when I post this list here, I think they'll all be right in here. If you just start popping through here, you'll see all these different things I've pointed out in the past. This is just in the last year and a half or so of things to do with the IRS, foreclosures, church and state, birth certificates, elections, local government, public officer impersonation, which is, that's what Whitmer is doing in Michigan. She's not the governor. She didn't take a proper oath of office. She's impersonating the governor. And according to the Michigan Penal Code, well, that's a crime. But I don't have any power to get anybody to do anything about it. But I think if I was to put that on a sworn statement and have a chaplain, right, be the witness or administer the oath, I'd be all set. In fact, let me show you that. I'll show you what I'm talking about exactly. All right, Chris, so this is what a chaplain would have to do for a spiritual warrior. I have knowledge of a crime, and I want to make somebody aware of it officially, right? I need to file a sworn statement into the jurisdiction that has authority to do something about it, which is the Gold Fringed Flag jurisdiction, which the church, the parish, right, is the doorway for the people of the parish into the system. And since that system is a military system, well, they have an Army sworn statement form. So I'm just going to use this as the example. And what are the routine uses, right? Well, the information provided may further be disclosed to federal, state, local, or foreign government, law enforcement agencies, prosecutors, courts, child protective services, victims, witnesses, the Department of Veterans Affairs, and the Office of Personnel Management. All of these other agencies that also have gold fringed flags. Right? That's what this is for. Information provided may be used for determinations regarding judicial or non-judicial punishment or other disciplinary and administrative disciplinary actions, security clearances, recruitment, retention, placement, and other personal actions. Yes, this form here could be used by us. It's just a sworn statement form used in the military. And we're going to that jurisdiction, so this is the form to use. Where I state your name, that would be me, Robert Allen Ritlewski, not Robert A. I don't have a middle initial. My given name, Christian name, is Robert Allen, last name Ritlewski. Right now, they're going to try like heck to make you give that up, and by and large, they've made it happen. But that's in the jurisdiction run by esquires, right? And the esquires are part of a class system under the British Crown. They're actually Crown agents. Right? They're not agents of the military. They're crown agents of the crown. Right? And they're not titles of nobility. That would be a knight, but they're the knight's shield bearer. And well below them in the class system of the British system is the stable hand, who was called a mister. And so when you go to court, they want you to be a mister. Right? This is why I'm always a staff sergeant. And this is why they have FR for you instead of Mr., right? You have a different class than a Mr. Well, none of us are Misters. We're all supposed to be the same, but they're doing it under a class system. Anyways, at the end of this sworn statement form is where we get to the affidavit part, where now I'm going to swear to what it is I just said. And over here, we have to have somebody administer the oath. And this is you. This is where the chaplain will make it official and provide 2 witnesses, right? So there we are. Put that together, get 4 people in a room to agree to this, what's said on this document, with one of them being the chaplain, and you have a document that would be recognized in the Gold Fringed jurisdiction to be what it says that it is, and what it says that it is a sworn statement. And you would have put yourself in a different jurisdiction than the jurisdiction of the Old Testament Talmudic law, Noahide law following esquires. So just to give you an example, real quick, of things that are so easy to show that are wrong, right? This is the Federal Rules of Civil Procedure, right, used for civil cases in federal court. But basically, they're used in all the states because they all have to be relatively uniform. They may not use the same words, but at the end of the day, they are part of the same system. And the laws of the United States are the common law of the nation. It says so in the Constitution in the 6th article. So anyways, the rules for those courts are supposed to be that every pleading, written motion, or other paper must be signed by at least one attorney of record in the attorney's name. Well, that sounds pretty reasonable, doesn't it? Okay, if you're going to put a paper into the court case as the attorney for somebody, then you need to sign it and say that you're the one who put it in as the attorney for somebody. Right? And the attorney's name. One attorney of record in the attorney's name. Well, now I'm going to show you a case that isn't this isn't a federal case, right? This is a state case they're helping a guy with, but they have the same rule in Florida. And the reason I want to show it is, see, here's the attorney for the plaintiff, this company up here, right? But it was signed with a byline. So the attorney isn't signing for itself the way the rule said. Right? If this is going to be the attorney for the plaintiff the name of some business that one of its officers had to sign for it, not some other attorney acting like they're the attorney for the attorney. Right? This byline doesn't work, and this is what you'll find in all documents filed into court by attorneys is they're not signing their documents in their name. And since they're not, they're violating Rule 11 of the federal rules, and it says in here that on motion for sanctions must be separately from any other motion and must describe specific conduct that allegedly violates Rule 11b. Well, they didn't sign their documents. My point is, the court on its own initiative may order an attorney to show cause why conduct specifically described in the order has not violated Rule 11b. Right? So, if you point out to them that they didn't sign their documents, then they're supposed to either sign the document or it has to be pulled out. Well, if we're talking about the very first document to go into a court case, and you say, hey, you didn't sign your document, and they won't sign it, well, then it has to be pulled out. Whether that's the complaint or the whatever the charging document is, right? If it hasn't been signed by the person responsible for the damn document, it has to be pulled out. You can't have a court case on it. But that isn't what's happening. They're continuing on under this Talmudic law system where it's okay to cheat a Gentile at law or business, and they're going to prosecute you, like they did sign it. So in their system, they only care what the title of something is. They don't really care what the substance is. But in the Christian system, it's all about what is the substance. Right? What they're doing is an act of bad faith. And I'm saying that's what a chaplain can call them on. And I've probably said that enough, so I'm going to stop. Now, I don't want to make this video too long. I just, I'm really do want to talk to Chris or somebody like Chris that has the Gold Fringed Flag, can understand what it is I want to do. Whether it's my particular case or somebody else's case, it doesn't really matter, but we need to get somebody together with a chaplain who's willing to put his name down on the frickin' sworn statement form, right? To use this form, to fill it out the best we can, right? Organization or address. Well, you're going to put your address. This doesn't have to be an organization. This could be your name, so it'd be Rutluski, Robert Allen, with no comma after Robert, so that's just my first name. There is no middle name. Social security number, right? Grade or status, organization or address. There's no reason this document cannot be used, by an individual. What's the location? Well, what's the name of the church I'm going into? Right? Whoever has the chaplain, that's the location. You have your sworn statement, and you have the chaplain do this part with witnesses. Right? And then I say you can take this document and you can file it into your court case, and it will just go into a different jurisdiction immediately because of how it was done. We're not going into the Esquire jurisdiction. We're going into the Gold Fringed jurisdiction. That's how I want to do it. Okay, y'all have a great day. And Chris, if you saw this, like I said, here's your Crucifixion of Life stream on Gab. This is the people I'm going to be trying to contact. But I'm not that particular. It can be anybody who wears a collar, right? Right. If you have the authority to sign, if you have the authority to have a Gold Fringed Flag, that's good enough for me. Okay. I'll leave it there. Have a great day. God bless. Bye-bye.